Today's conversation is one that you won't want to miss. We're excited to have episode 2, welcoming Torry McAlvain back to the podcast. We're talking about life updates and things that have happened over the last year. Torry is an outstanding leader and entrepreneur, the CEO of McAlvain Construction. So we're excited to talk to him about everything in the Valley, construction related, the lessons that he's learned while he's been in business, balancing family, the demands of work, the other obligations he has in his life. We're talking about lessons that he's learned about money, about family, about relationships, and his inner circle, and the things that he does and values in the people that he surrounds himself with. So this is a conversation you don't want to miss. Thanks for joining us on the 1% podcast.
Like, what are the things I need to do? And it's really just prioritizing my time around those things.
Yeah.
And if I can just prioritize those things, carve out time for myself, be intentional with that, where I'm thinking ahead, I'm being prepared, I'm naturally just more grounded and centered, and it gives me balance. What I'm getting at is, like, even fighting those stories is hard and all that kind of stuff, because I'm never just gonna I'm always gonna appreciate things, but it's hard to call it success, whatever you want to, because, like, you're fighting something, you're saying no to something.
Okay, well, today we have Torry McAlvain back on the podcast with us. You are our first guest that's back for a second episode. So
Ooh, let's go.
Yeah, this is awesome. Well, so those of you who don't know, if you haven't watched the first time Torry was around, I definitely recommend that you go back and go watch that. We'll kind of go over his history briefly, but we're going to go just build upon our previous conversation. And Torry and I are super good friends, so we talk all the time. So we're always talking life and business, and so it kind of only makes sense to share some of what we talk about and what kind of a normal conversation sounds like for us. So really quickly, just kind of briefly give people an overview if they don't know who you are, if they haven't watched the previous episode, just kind of give them a quick rundown of who you are, where you're from, what you stand for. And
this is also the most awkward question. I'm the worst at the elevator pitch. So Torry McAlvain, I'm here, been born, raised Meridian, Idaho, been here my entire life, married to Jillian, got 4 kids. Have a McAlvain Construction, general contracting company. It's been our family for 45 years. The largest general contractor here in Boise. Yeah, and like Kam and I, like you said, are good friends. Always talking business, growing our minds, financials, and our families apparently. So life's good.
Love it. So you've been through a number of things over the last several years, not the least of which being your dad passing away about a year and a half ago. What are some of the lessons that you've learned over the past year and a half as you kind of entered into a new stage of life and things have changed dynamic-wise for you?
Yeah, I've had several of these conversations. I'm a big believer, like, when things like that, life-changing circumstances happen, you got really one or two options. It's either you can go down a path where that's not going to consume you, or you can at least go down a path where you're going to take as much as you can, opportunities to learn from it, become a better person, and really just walk through it. Because really, the reality is life just happened to you. So really, if you're going to move forward, you're going to stay or go backwards.
Yeah.
So for me, having some clarity around the last 18 months, some of the biggest takeaways, probably the biggest one is really just understanding truly what's important to me. That's pretty cliche for people to say that, or maybe they have a friend pass, or they hear of a celebrity who passes, and it's like, wow, life's short. They don't take it for granted. And that, that lasts for 1, 2, 3, or 4 days. Specifically for me, given those, my father in a really tight relationship, that one really stuck with me. And I can honestly say reprioritizing, my family unit, Jillian and my 4 kids, and understanding really what's best for us. And it's a good opportunity for me also, not only prioritizing truly my family unit and putting them first, and really truly putting them first, but also for myself, to where life is short. And, I do enjoy, making money, closing deals, building a team, building a company. But I really feel like I know myself really well now as it relates to, like, that's just not who I am. That's one role that Torry plays, and I'm bigger than that. And that to me is a pretty profound feeling, to not take myself too seriously, right? Like, I can play this role, build this company, or I can be this great husband, great father, or whatever, and just really enjoy life and not get too stressed, right? So it's almost like I matured in a way, where I'm not taking life too serious, matured where I'm more confident in myself, more secure in myself, really understand my insecurities, and not being driven, or my choices or my behaviors driven off of those. Yeah, and just really prioritizing my family. That's like the biggest lessons I've learned.
I think that it sounds like to me a lot of what you're sharing is kind of a change in perspective as to like your role in the world, your role with your family, the fact that you are this multidimensional person that has all these different facets that make you who you are.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're not just, Torry McAlvain Construction. You're not just Torry McAlvain, the dad. You're Torry McAlvain, the husband. You're Torry McAlvain, the friend. You're Torry McAlvain, the mentor. Right. It's like there's all these things that
Yeah.
make you who you are, and finding that balance in those things. How have you managed to find balance with all those things? Obviously, I think that this is something that all of us struggle with to a degree, right? Like when you're young, we were just talking before, the only thing that you really have to exchange in the market is time and energy. And so many of us, especially as you're learning and growing, coming up, if you're hyper competitive, if you're driven to want to be successful, you're putting in a ton of time, you're putting in a ton of hours, you're pushing yourself constantly to be learning and growing and trying to exchange that time and that energy, to gain monetary value in the market. But then over time, you begin to start to leverage the other assets that you have, your knowledge, your experience, your network, your team, all those kinds of things. But finding balance with those two things of being hyper driven, wanting to be successful, but then also finding balance for yourself and for your family. How have you managed to do that?
That was a good question. And then getting back to another opportunity comes from the past of my father was it almost guys our age or even older can get to a point where they can get burnt out, call it a midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
A lot of pressures, expectations, roles, responsibilities, being a father, a husband, running businesses. Luckily for me, I was kind of forced into a situation where I had to look down deep and figure out a lot about myself. So I'm not going to have a midlife crisis when I'm 45, 50. The good news. So it forced me to really figure out, okay, so what is important to me. Like I said, my family unit, making sure I'm just always being authentic on who I am, making sure I understand like my insecurities. So I'm not being driven by those decisions and behaviors. The other thing I struggled with was what you were saying, like the balance side. Cause it's like, right when my dad passed, my first instinct then was to really just kind of like pull back a little bit, hug Jillian and the kids more. But yet the competitive side of me was like, okay, now I'm missing out on this side, right? So I got guys like you and some other friends we have in our circle that are hyper competitive, and you guys are out always just growing, growing, and growing. And the competitive nature in me is like, all right, cool. Like now I'm missing out because I'm going so far to this right here. And that was a journey I had to go through. And then I would find myself where I go on the opposite side, where I go all in. And then I'd be like, well, like now I'm taking away what's I just was telling myself what's important. I honestly struggled with that for the last 18 months. I feel like I'm in a pretty good place with it. And at least for me, what I figured I had to do was staying present in the moment, first and foremost. So switching my morning routines up and whatnot, and it doesn't really matter what I do, but
I was just going to ask you, like, what's your daily routine that helps you in that?
yeah. So, I mean, I'll talk about that, but what it does for me though is what I found is, having companies and 4 kids and a marriage and, friendships that, I want to maintain and manage. That's a lot. And I didn't really have time for myself because I was just putting so much on my shoulders. So truly carving out time for myself where it's like 4 hours where I'm not checking my phone, not checking my email, whatever I want to do. Typically it's the same routine, which I'll talk about, but having that time, I've had a lot of introspection thoughts and conversations and reflections and intention goal settings. So it's like, all right, how did I show up? Can I be better? And naturally through that process, I feel just way more at ease, less anxiety, less stress, more present. And I'm actually, spending time in those 4 hours thinking ahead to maybe I have the meetings for that day, that week, or big things I got coming up for the month. Not too big far out in like goals, like that will always happen, but it's really just like within the week or the month. Getting prepared for that mentally and kind of like role playing in my head in that quiet time, it's almost like I'm prepared too. And it's kind of weird, but the more prepared I am as well, the more at ease I am. And I notice the things about myself. What stresses me out or brings me anxiety isn't stacking things on. I can take on a lot. It's me not showing up prepared or feeling I'm behind or doing the things I know I need to be doing, whether that's for like my mental health or anything or for work. If I feel like I'm behind, that's where I start like, I'm always chasing. I'm chasing. Like I gotta, like, and that to me, that builds up anxiety. So
Totally.
getting ahead of all that, really grounding myself, I can take on a lot. So that's helped me. And I'm finding through that process where it's boundaries too. So creating more boundaries as it relates to like, hey, I'm going to prioritize, not even prioritize myself. I mean, when I say that out loud, it's interesting even me hearing that say that, because my first question is like, yeah, that sounds selfish.
Yeah.
But my intention truly isn't selfish at all. It's like, no. It's like, what's the most important things? It's like even, family and work and, building a team, making money. And then within those things, all right, what are the things I need to do? And it's really just prioritizing my time around those things.
Yeah.
And if I can just prioritize around those things, carve out time for myself, be intentional with that, where I'm thinking ahead, I'm being prepared, I'm naturally just more grounded and centered, and it gives me balance. And I show up better for Jillian. I show up better for the kids. I show up better for all my team members. That's kind of my formula that I found, was honestly just carving out more time for myself and really getting ahead of what I got coming up, what I want to be intentional about with every moment of my time to only better myself.
Which is so profound. And I think that if people just think about it simply, it makes 100% sense, right? Like if you said to yourself, okay, I want to show up the best possible version of myself for my wife and my kids tonight. How do I do that? Is that to put myself in as many stressful situations as possible during the day? Is it to run myself ragged? Is it to be micromanaging all these different tasks and people and things in my life, and then expect that I'm not going to be disappointed, I'm not going to be stressed out, I'm not going to be upset, I'm not going to be worried, I'm not going to be anxious, and then I come show up around my wife and my kids? It's like, yeah, no wonder you don't show up as your best.
Mm-hmm.
So if I rewinded that and I just say, okay, how do I show up as my best? I'm going to take time to make sure that I'm reflective, that I'm introspective, I'm taking care of my physical health, my mental health, my emotional health. So then what does that mean? It means I have to go put other people in my life that can go help me with these other things, because I don't have the capacity to go do them. And I think that that's actually real strength. And, you and I have often talked about, like, out of our parents' generation, something like that may have been seen as weakness, of like, oh, you're not taking it on, like, you're not man enough, like, you can't do it. Whereas, like, I think that the real value that people who do it start to understand is that having a team, not only does that allow you to be in a better space, to think clearly, to make good decisions, to show up as the best form of yourself, but it like unlocks this whole new portion of your brain and your life where you can think creatively, right? You and I were just talking in my office about some stuff that I'm working on. It's like, if I'm neck deep in the day-to-day of my business, I'm never thinking of stuff like that, right? That's never coming to my mind. Like, those kind of opportunities just go right by and you miss them because, you're down in the weeds and you're sweating and you're working and you're just like neck deep in all the minutia of daily life. And then that keeps you from really seeing or capitalizing on the biggest opportunities, not to mention also showing up as the best for your family. Two quotes that come to mind in that. Number one, Abraham Lincoln kind of famously said that if I had 8 hours to chop down as many trees as possible, I'd spend 4 of them sharpening my axe. Right. And so, the better you prepare yourself, the more effective you're going to be, basically. And then the other part of that, the other quote that comes to my mind is Jeff Bezos famously said that as a CEO, I get paid to make 3 or 4 good decisions every day. Like, that's what I get paid for. And the rest of my time should be spent trying to put myself in the best possible position to be able to make the best decisions possible, right? Like, you were just kind of telling me about a experience you had with making sure you got here and being able to think clearly and to be able to like make the right decision by prioritizing your time, because really that's the most valuable asset that you have.
Well, made me think of something else too. And another thing that I guess I struggled with still to this day a little bit, but I feel a lot better about it. And it's just me breaking old stories, old habits, old wiring in my brain, my thought process. Given that, we used to, I know you've said it before and I've heard you say, like, we used to, wake up at 4 a.m. Not that I don't anymore, but like wake up to go straight to work, to grind this and that. We had so many instant gratifications on knowing how well we were doing because it was so much task oriented kind of things. And it's taken me a while to get more comfortable and actually give myself grace as it relates to like more of the role I'm playing now, and understanding that it looks different, completely different. And what I think I fought for a while is like, yeah, the stories I had, I'm lazy, or why aren't I doing this? Or maybe I cared about opinions. Like maybe people think I'm like late. I don't know what I thought, but I struggle with that. And it's like, I can move the needle probably in 30 minutes more than most, like in 8 hours. And like, that's just the role I play. And I give myself grace for that. Like my biggest strength or biggest attribute that I can bring for all my team members or any business is Torry being in the right mindset and a healthy mindset and a creative mindset. That doesn't mean I won't roll up my sleeves when, shit gets real. Like I'll be the first to jump in there. But the role I play now is like, hey, like making sure big picture, we're staying ahead, we're getting creative, we're getting strategic, making sure the team's good at a very high level. And like, if that's like the more role I play. And it took me a while to get there too, but actually I think the more grace I gave myself and the more comfortable I got with that actually helped with that balance too, because I don't fight it as much.
Well, I think that's such amazing advice. And, you and I talk about this a lot. We both struggle with the same thing, trying to eradicate that scarcity type of mindset where if you are not busy, you're not productive, right? And being busy and being productive are two different things, right? If you can go put yourself in a great mindset to go negotiate something or to find an opportunity, you may have made a 7 or 8 figure difference in your business in a day versus, hey, I'm gonna go get neck deep in something that's $1,000 task.
Yeah.
Right. And if I go spend, when I'm coaching people, I tell them all the time, your value in the market is dictated by the dollar value of the things you spend your time on. So if I completed 7 $100 tasks today, my monetary value is $700 today. If I completed 7 $1,000 tasks today, my monetary value is $7,000. If I completed 1 $7 million task today, my monetary value is $7 million today. Which one is the most important? Obviously the $7 million one. That's the one that compensates the best, but that's the one that requires the highest level of skill. That's the one that requires the highest level of preparation. That's the one that requires the highest level of network and mindset and the ability to even see it and to get there and put yourself in the right room. All those things don't happen on accident. And so, John D. Rockefeller once famously said that, a man that's so busy working has no time to make money. And, it's easy to become caught up so much in the tasks, the monotony of daily life, that you prevent yourself from finding those opportunities to be able to go make money. Let's talk about, if you would, the ways that you found to find leverage at this point in your life and by creating a team. One of the biggest things that I feel like you and I align on and that I've, loved as I've got to watch you is you building a team, right? Like you have an amazing team that you built, being able to leverage capital, being able to leverage network, the ability to, mass communicate using marketing and other things like that to go leverage your mindset, what you know, who you know. How have you found those things to be helpful and productive as you've tried to grow?
Yeah, it's kind of that same mindset where back in the day you would have to grind on all these tasks, and when you get to a point where you have more clarity, I feel like with more clarity, like back in the day, I was like, for instance, like, how the hell do you make money? Like, it was an honest question. Like, how do people do all that? And you find over time, it's like, okay, well, that's not that hard to do certain things, right? And it's like your mind just grows and you get more clarity around. So like specifically around leveraging, let's just use relationships, for instance. Like I'm at a point now with like my close group of circles, which you're one of, is instead of like we have opportunities just come to us, right? So one already, let's just use Kam as an example. Okay, Torry can go out and find 10 deals. Well, guess what? Now he's finding 15 because maybe Kam's finding 10, but we're talking about 5 together. So there's just one example of how your relationships leverage, right? And then you multiply that on just more relationships, right? So using and then that's just opportunities coming from us. There's been plenty of times where vice versa, I reached out to you to me, where you're like, hey, can I have this person's contact information or this? So there's another way to leverage relationship, not just like deals or opportunities coming in, but maybe you got an agenda you'd like to get to somebody and I can make a text introduction and then off and running. So leveraging relationships is huge. And, that takes time. It doesn't just happen. First of all, 10 years ago, like you and I were cool, but you and I didn't know the people we know now. And because that takes work to build honest, true relationships, right? And there's networks and all that stuff and acquaintances, but to build honest, true relationships takes time.
I draw this as 3 circles as I'm teaching people. The outer one is your fringe. These are people you've met one time, maybe met them at some event, you shook their hand, you know who they are, they know who you are. They're a fringe network connection. Inside of that, you have people who are friends. Like, oh yeah, hey, I know this person. Sure, like we're friends. Talked to them, been around them, been to dinner before, whatever. Like we have some sort of friendship relationship. Been out to lunch with them a few times. I would call them a friend. They would call me a friend. And then you have an inner circle. And those inner circles are the people that absolutely, right? I would do anything for, I know they would do anything for me. These are people that you're doing deals with. They're people that you trust, that you would do anything for them and they do anything for you. And so people will often say like, oh yeah, hey, like I have a connection with this person. Are they in your fringe? Are they a friend? Or are they in your inner circle? Right? And like you look at the dollar value of the people that you have in those areas, and that's largely going to dictate the dollar value of your value in the market. Also, same thing, if you want to be a great dad, if you want to be a great husband, if you want to be a great leader, like whatever that is, look at the people that you have in those circles. Like look who you're surrounding yourself with. And those people are going to impact you, right? Like show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And the people that you surround yourself with have such a massive impact on you, the way you think, what opportunities you see, what opportunities come to you, your ability to connect and to solve problems. Like the value of a network is just, it can't be overstated in my opinion.
Yeah. And those relationships I was talking about, that was specific around deal opportunities as it relates to like, as an example, how can I leverage? Well, again, like I have a good friend, I'm finding 10 deals, Kam's finding 10, maybe we only talked to 5 together from him. So that's 15. That's one. Another thing is like leveraging relationships is the acquaintances or people we met over time, at least how I think is, I feel like I know, I feel like I know everybody from a high school janitor that I could get in a gymnasium if I want to maybe somebody in probably 1 degree of separation in the White House. And it's like how I at least think is like, you never know where an opportunity is going to take you. And I love meeting new people. There's plenty of times where it's like, hey, I know this person. And it's maybe, again, it's a relationship. It's not centered around a deal, but it's an opportunity where I get to maybe do something for my kids or we get to do something. So like you can leverage relationships and people you meet over time, or maybe I can get a free coffee or like what we were talking about last night. I was able to, get back home. I leverage a relationship, right? So it's not always monetary. So that's the big one. Now, capital is an interesting one. It kind of goes with the monetary or the opportunity side with the relationships. So the capital, again, what I'm finding for myself anyways, or at least my appetite is like, obviously I like, to own things, but at least how I think back to scaling and leveraging, it's like, well, I can have one thing, spend all my time, effort, and energy and capital in this one thing, or I can, with, very select few, have a multiple, and that is an exponentially more, maybe my equity is less, but that overall is more than just right here. And that's leveraging capital as well, right? And it can be human capital, it can be financial capital, whatever it is. And then just with work, we're kind of talking about this. How do we leverage more of my time and our leadership team's time? And the part of scaling as a company, it's like, all right, like let's have processes and procedures that work and it'd be all about efficiency. If we can focus on how we can have a process for anybody to come in, here's a playbook from day one, and follow that playbook. We don't have to recreate it, but we can revise it as it improves over time. That allows us to leverage our time to keep growing and scaling and focus on the things that need to be focused on, specifically for McAlvain. Have the PMs, focus on what they need to do is maintaining the client relationship and ensuring that the job is being built per the schedule and the budget, right? And focusing on what really matters.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you, are there some examples? You kind of mentioned this playbook that you guys have built. Are there some examples that you can think of in your career and with McAlvain or with anything else where you guys have been able to establish a system and put things in place that have been able to duplicate your efforts, where in the past you're reteaching the same things over and over again every time you hire a new person? How have you noticed that having systems or things like your playbook in place have helped expedite what you know and what your team knows to all your people quickly?
Yeah. There's a lot of different ones. I think, trying to think of a really good example. Call it our MRO, monthly report out. Here's one. So how do we get, so there was a point in time where the company where it's like, maybe we got 10 jobs and I'm privy to every more or less a weekly insight on where the job's at. Okay. Fast forward to where we are now. That's just impossible. More importantly, it's not the best use of my time.
Yeah.
So we have a process where we call them monthly report outs, and that's an opportunity to where the team, we're talking now schedule, change orders, client relations, safety, all that thing wrapped up and at a mass scale distributed to our leadership team. So whenever we can talk about that and know about that, like a pulse, but managed by the project teams across the board. So now we go from, knowing, being privy like on a weekly basis to you can do 20 or 30 of those once on a monthly basis. More or less have the same comfort level of KPIs in place. So it's really about establishing KPI. For for me specifically, it's establishing KPIs. Yep. I'm a numbers guy, and numbers, obviously you have to have a gut sense. You have to know when something's up, and then, just go in there a little bit deeper or just ask questions. Why? That's one thing I found is just asking questions. People will tell you anything. Yep. But establishing KPIs is probably the best example. So an MRO is essentially a bucket of KPIs, and allowing that to speak more quickly within 30 minutes. And then that's how we've done it.
I love it. Well, to use a sports analogy, right? You and I both love football, so use a football analogy with it. If in the NFL, it's something like 83% of games are won by the team that controls the time of possession more. So if there's an 83% likelihood that we're going to win the game by having greater time of possession than the other team, we're going to monitor our time of possession. We're going to be intentional about wanting to dominate time of possession. Whoever wins the turnover battle, right? So if you win time of possession and turnovers, you're virtually always going to win. Okay, so did we win time of possession? Did we win the turnover battle? Did we turn it over? Okay, why did we turn over? Did we not get any takeaways? Why did we or didn't we get any takeaways? How did that happen? What were our rushing yards? What were our passing yards? Like, you could literally look at the statistics of a game and be like, okay, I have a pretty good sense of what happened in that game before you ever even turn on any film. Mm-hmm. And if I just saw, okay, hey, we had 1.5 times the amount of time possession the other team had. We had 4 takeaways and 0 turnovers. We had 250 rushing yards. We only gave up 76 rushing yards. We threw for 350 yards and only gave up 160 yards passing. I don't even need to see the score, and I can tell you that we probably won by 3 or 4 touchdowns at least, right? Mm-hmm. And so having KPIs, having structure in your business that helps leaders to quickly be able to see, so, okay, I'm not on the job every day. I don't see the job every day. Maybe my leadership team doesn't even see the job every day, but we can have a sense for what's going on because we're getting that feedback, we're getting that reporting, so it can tell our team really quickly, hey, we got something going on over here that we need to pay attention to, right? And just learning how to leverage information. And, we live in an age where utilizing technology can help you to leverage information and to expedite how quickly you're fixing problems in your business or taking advantage of opportunities.
Now, one thing I'd say about that is anybody who's thinking about putting KPIs in place. So when we're talking KPIs that I'm putting in place or you're putting in place, that's also with the underlining assumption that we understand what the hell we're looking at.
Yeah.
If you were just to throw up data or analytics, but you truly didn't like for us, fortunately, we started to where, we built a lot of these processes. We were in the weeds, so we understand what it's telling us.
Yeah.
So numbers are important, but you got to understand truly what it's telling you. So if that makes sense.
Totally.
So that's an underlying assumption. So, we got to be clear on that somebody's like, great, let's have all these things. And also too, you don't need a whole spreadsheet of 50 KPIs. You got to know what are like I'd recommend like 6.
I was going to say, we do like 5 to 7. Yep.
What's the 6 that are going to turn the needle the most and that you understand? So right when you see that, so for instance, like my cash, like if I know like my cash report, and I can see it, I'm like, yeah, something's going on there. And I know what that means. And that's what's important.
Love it.
Yeah.
So leveraging systems, leveraging cash, we were talking about relationships. One of the things that's transpired since last time we were here, and if you don't mind sharing to whatever extent you feel comfortable, you guys have a partnership with Allquist. That's new since last time you and I were chatting here. You guys are doing a ton of work together. Maybe talk about that and how your relationship, that being an example of being able to utilize that to pick up a
totally
very significant client.
Yeah, that's a good example of building relationships and taking time, right? Obviously, Tommy's been a mover and shaker in this town for a long time. I've admired what he's done for a long time. Him and my dad crossed paths many times, so I've had the opportunities to meet him over the years. And at least how I play everything the long game, and I play it authentic and sincere. I've never been one just walking someone like, hey, I want to do all your business. It's like, well, what do you have to offer? And second of all, like who the hell are you? Like I don't even know you.
Yeah.
So I'm smart enough to understand, especially in our industry, it's all about trust. So trust takes time. So just showing up, supporting, never overstepping and asking, but just almost waiting for the right opportunity. And so that was a long time in the making as it relates to trust, supporting, all that good stuff. And then, so, that was probably like, I don't know, 7 years of cross interaction we had. And then when the opportunity came, because I had rapport, because I had a relationship where I can have pretty in-depth conversations, when the time came, we just had a conversation like, hey, you got a problem? Great. Here's how I would fix your problem, or I can bring a solution to it. And then that's how it at least forged.
So was your skill set being compounded by the relationship, right? If you didn't have the skill set, it wouldn't matter what kind of relationship you had with them. But the fact that you had a skill set that could then match and could solve the problem.
And we couldn't, I don't want to say we couldn't, but, we had an opportunity to build for them 6 years ago, but we weren't ready. Like we had to rebuild the company. We had to sharpen our skill set. We had to become great builders. We had to put a team in place to take on an account like Allquist. The guy is a maniac in a good way. Like he's got his fingers in everything. He's got high standards, expectation. He moves really fast. So to be in a position where we're at now, like we compounded our skill set. We had to build onto that, and then we took advantage of it. So
what do you feel like you guys have changed over the last 6 years?
Builders,
you
first
talk
of
about your
all,
team.
Builders. We've got great builders, superintendents, project managers. I don't think there's really anything that I'm afraid that we couldn't build. So we got great builders, processes in place on how we manage, and so our projects are being built on time or ahead of schedule, under budget. So we got the KPIs to manage that as a process. Organizationally, I think we're great at client relations. So we understand the importance of meeting the clients where they are and understanding what their needs are and adjusting, instead of just saying, here we are, here's our process, coming in there hot and heavy. Really understanding to the I call them our VIP clients, understanding what their needs are and how we need to adapt to make their needs and what hurdles they might have or roadblocks or anything that we can overcome for them. So really understanding them to a T as well. And that's just a mindset and a culture that we had to build.
I love that. As I study other companies and help other businesses, you see all the time, right? The B people don't work for C leaders. A people don't work for B leaders. And so the weight really falls on the leader of the organization. The organization is going to take on the personality of its leader. And so in order to build an A organization or an A+ organization, you have to be an A+ leader. And so much of that starts at the top, funnels down to your team. And in the past, you may have had people, you have B or C people in certain positions. And as you upgrade as a leader, you're able to attract better talent to come to work for you. You're able to help grow through accountability, through training, through expectations and culture of raising the people up that were in your organization. Like, hey, this person has been a B for us. It's like, hey, look, we need you to be an A. And here's what I need you to do. And here's what this looks like. And here's what the expectations are. This is the standard. And people either rise or fall, right? They either fall and they say, I'm leaving, going somewhere else. I don't like this. Or people rise to that occasion and you attract those other kind of people. And so your organization gets better simply by changing the culture, changing the demands, the expectations, the training, the way that you handle things. So I think that speaks a lot to you as a leader, that you're not going to go attract all these A people and be able to build A teams that can go take on A clients if you have a B leader in this, right? And so subsequently you're going to have, B and C people throughout your organization, and they're not going to be able to fulfill the demands of a client, right?
And we're looking to, like, as a company, as a contractor and a builder too, like, I mean, my goal is, even if it's negotiated work, like, how do we provide the lowest cost, with a margin in there, but yet it's still the lower cost. And so strategically, part of like our 2030 plan, like how we're going to get there, as far as like through acquisitions or different market sectors or different trade divisions that we take on more in-house, like constantly looking at ourselves, like, how do we provide a better end product to the client? And it's not just cutting costs, it's getting strategic on how we can whack out fluff and this and that, produce faster, build better. Like, that's another value that we've been working on, and we're continuing, especially with Aquas, what a great opportunity to just full steam ahead on that one. And I don't want to just be, because Tommy likes me. No, like, I want to be, because, like, no, that's my guy.
Yeah.
And Torry's our guy, McAlvain's our guy. Like, they get shit done, and like they can build. That's what I want.
Yeah. And I think what you're speaking to so much is when you exceed people's expectations, your rate of growth is exponential, because so many people think, okay, we're just going to do bare minimum to meet their expectations.
Yeah.
We're going to make as much as possible in the process, and we're going to fulfill what we said we'd fulfill. Maybe on some of the gray areas, like, oh, well, that was kind of ambiguous. But like, if you just take the mindset of, we're going to freaking go blow everyone out of the water, to everyone that we do business with, they're going to be blown away and be like, holy crap. Like, that was an even better experience than we were expecting. It was faster. It was, they came in, ahead of schedule, under budget, like whatever that looks like, that you're fulfilling your end better than how people expected you to, that people think that you are giving up something in the short run, but in the reality, like, you are gaining in the long run, because not only will you maintain that client for a long, long time, but they're going to tell other people, and other people are just naturally going to observe it. It's just called the law of attraction or whatever. Like, it just happens, right? Like, when you go treat people well and you go exceed their expectations,
totally,
it's like throwing gas.
He's got such a high standard and expectation to where I love it. It's a pressure cooker, but I thrive in that. And it's like, I'm telling the team, like, some of them are like, oh, they feel the pressure. It's like, what a great opportunity that we're raising the bar as a company now, because not we're being forced to, because we know, like, if we're just a builder, there's crows circling around, man. And if we're not exceeding expectations, we're just, normal, and we got to be great. So we're going to raise the bar, because, that's the expectation. And as a byproduct, we're just going to be a better company for it. Love it. Another thing I was thinking about is, when we're back to the relations on leveraging, I thought about this too. Here's another good thing is understanding. So there's layers to it. So leveraging relations, especially in your inner circle, if you're finding like opportunities, this and that. There's also the understanding of leveraging your relations based on like understanding their strengths and weaknesses. For instance, like, I got a close group of circle, and I know each and every one of you's strengths and weaknesses, but specifically around the strengths, I know what all of your strengths are. So when I'm leveraging my relationships with you guys, I'm leveraging it based on your strengths, and I'm even basing it against maybe offsetting a weakness I have, or just doubling down on, you got a better strength than I have there, or this strength is going to be good for this deal or this opportunity, if that makes sense.
100%, right? Hey, I've got this dude that has a ton of experience in real estate development. He's in my inner circle. Of course, I'm going to involve him in this deal because it's a real estate deal. Hey, I'm going to involve this person that has done a ton of acquisitions of other businesses He's in my inner circle.
Mhm.
This is more his expertise. I'm going to involve this person because I want their expertise in it,
Yeah.
because this is what they've spent their career doing, right? Like, these are what these people's skill sets are.
Yeah, it's not just about knowing people and having close relations. Like, if you want to take it to the next level, it's like knowing people, having close relations who are dominant in whatever they do and whatever facet they is, and leveraging that to whatever you need.
Find people that are top 1% in the world at whatever they do, right?
Yeah.
Go fill your circle with people that are top 1%. Naturally, you're going to get better, right? And those are the kinds of conversations you have. That's what those kind of people talk about, right? Like, people at the bottom are in competition with everyone. People at the bottom are talking bad about other people. They're gossiping about other people. They're, worried about things that really don't matter. When you start surrounding yourself with the people that are the best at whatever they do, all they're talking about is opportunities.
Mhm.
All they're talking about is what other people are doing that's awesome. Right? Like,
Mhm.
they're happy for other people. They're seeing what other people are doing and how can they learn from that? How can they incorporate that? Like, how can I involve that person in my life to help level me up and make me better? Like, you just notice the level of collaboration
Oh,
that
yeah.
happens among people at the top is completely
It's
different.
momentum too.
100%.
It's momentum. It's just like energy, momentum. You just like, it's good.
Let's talk for a minute. One of the things I've noticed throughout my career is my relationships with different things change. How has your relationship with money and the way that you viewed money changed over the course of your career? Obviously, that changes when you're really young and,
Mhm.
money's scarce and you have a lot of time and energy. But then as you get older, as you acquire more, as you see those things differently, how's your relationship with money changed, and what's one lesson that you've learned about money over your time in business?
No, that's a good question. I would say maybe there's more that comes to my mind as I'm talking through this. Without a doubt, though, one relation that has changed with money is the time, call it time value of money. We were kind of talking about this in your office too, in one scenario. But I know, call it my hourly wage. I know what, like, everything all in, residual income, all that stuff. Like, what? So I look at task, I look at opportunities, I look at things where it's like, all right, here's what I would pay myself, and here's what I can outsource that. Can I take and pay somebody, let's call it $100 an hour, and go take my worth over here to go do this? That's going to bring 10x that, right? So I think that's one big thing I looked at. And yeah, you are spending a little bit more money if you think about it like that, but it's an opportunity to scale. I know, and quite frankly, I think it's the only way to scale, at least that I found.
100%.
So I think that's one thing that changed. Yeah, I already got more coming to my mind. So one thing for change for sure is just looking at my time value and not looking at things that are less than thereof. Nothing to do with that. It's really just about like, hey, I have this hour here. I have a lot of different options.
I had to prioritize.
I got prioritized, but in this specific scenario, on this one, I got to outsource it. I'm going to pay somebody to do it, but it's way worth my time. So that's definitely one. Another thing is, I would say another relation that changed with money is understanding to where I used to work a lot for money. And when I say that, meaning I would work to get, like my paycheck, and that's what I was working for. At least in my mind now, specifically what I work for is I work for having money work for me. And I know you know what I'm talking about. So instead of my mindset being like, hey, I need, get this paycheck or this money, at least where I'm at now, where my mindset is, it's like, I can go further with, I'm working, I'm getting that money, but where am I putting and what am I doing with that money? So now it's making money on its money, right?
How's my money working for me?
How my money is working for me, for sure. And that's something that, I've been focused on for like the last 4 years. And yeah, it's just a different mindset. I mean, to me, it makes sense. It's a long-term play. It's a smart play too. And it's just, that's how I just look at it. So and I was kind of like that too. Like I always was like, for instance, when I was in college, I never really wanted to go out too much. I would be like, screw this. They're like, why am I going out to this bar? Someday I'd rather just stay at home, study, get better. It's like, fuck, I want to own this bar. Like that was just always the mindset I had. So I was never one just to blow money or spend money. I was definitely frugal and save, but now I'm taking my savings and my frugalness and I'm applying it towards more residual long-term income growth. And then I think the last one is what changed is the appreciation of how hard it is to make money. And at the same time, how easy it is to make money, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Like,
there's a quote that comes to mind that Kevin O'Leary said on a podcast I heard recently, where he said, it is much easier to go from $10 million to $20 million than it is to go from $0 to $1 million.
Yeah.
Right. Like that grind, that struggle, how almost impossibly difficult it is, right? 99.9% of people never make it to that point. So the fact that almost no one ever makes it to that first point, and then it's equally as difficult to get from 1 to 5, but then once you have 5, now you can start putting your money to work for you. Now, because you've learned all these lessons coming up, because now you've made all these relationships and you had all this experience, now all of a sudden the money can start compounding faster because you're using it to work for you. You're using this experience and these lessons and this network and all these people to start working for you, and now your money's.
And you got to put things in perspective and be real. Unless you just like woke up one day and you had a trust fund, or you woke up, even this isn't a scenario, like you're just an instant success, because I really don't believe in that. Like people put work in.
Yeah.
But let's just pretend one day you just woke up and you had all that stuff. That's not reality. So the reality is like you have to take it in phases. You have to work for that money. You have to save all that. You have to become disciplined, understand it. You don't just go to this phase over here. And you have to go through all those trials and tribulations and all that stuff to get over to here, to have appreciation, to figure out, okay, now I know what worked, what didn't work. Over the course of time, like you're saying, I built relationships too, so I can leverage that. And it's not that it's easier. It's because you put in all the time, effort, and energy and did all the hard things up front to where now you have options and opportunities. Yeah. It's not that it's easier. It's because you did the work to get to where you're at, to afford yourself to have those opportunities.
Reminds me of one of my favorite Stoic quotes, that discipline makes kings out of slaves and lack of discipline makes slaves out of kings. Right. And so how does someone become a king? How does someone become the best at whatever they want to do? Discipline, doing the hard work, doing it for a long, extended period of time, saying no to so many other things that would have derailed you along the way. Likewise, when you get to that point, what derails you? Derails you when you turn away from all the things that got you there in the first place. You become really undisciplined. You become really lazy. You become, absent in your life and not present with the people that around you that are important. Like, discipline makes kings out of slaves.
Yeah.
And lack of discipline.
And that's another thing, is to make sure everyone understands it. It's not fun. And it's not easy. If it was fun and easy, everybody would do it. So it isn't fun saying no 20 times to people that you feel like you're letting down, or you see your friends maybe having fun. Like, it's not easy to do all that, and it's not fun. It's a grind. So, maybe people see where like, oh, I want those things, or I want this and that, but behind the curtains, there's a lot of discipline, and the discipline is a lot of no's. It's a lot of isolation. It's a lot of, maybe uncomfortableness, boundaries, different relationships change. Even, for myself specifically, and to this day, I feel like I have imposter. Jillian and I talk about this forever, and this is why I love her so much, and this will never change. I feel like I have imposter syndrome. We were literally just talking about this the other day.
I still feel like I'm 12 years old in so many ways.
Like, I feel wrong, or I feel guilty. I feel like I'm not deserving. And what I'm getting at is, like, even fighting those stories is hard and all that kind of stuff. Because I'm never just going to, I'm always going to appreciate things, but it's hard to call it success, whatever you want to, because like you're fighting something, you're saying no to something, and it's uncomfortable, it's discipline, and it's not easy. So I want to make sure like everyone understands, like there's a path and a journey there that is difficult too. It's not just instant overnight success.
Well, and I think that some examples that are coming to my mind when you're talking about people having to say no to things, I have these opportunities at work. I have this class that I can go take. I have this mentor that I can meet with. I have this opportunity I can go pursue, but it's going to cost me money. It's going to cost me time. Am I well, I saw the McAlvains go on this vacation and go spend a week in Mexico or Hawaii or somewhere like that, right? And I think that people think that they would rather have a portion of the reward at the end right now and give up the ultimate reward at the end, right? It's like, I know you and I were in much the same boat, but like I went for almost 10 years without ever going on a vacation, right? Like I would maybe take 1 or 2 or 3 days off a year, like to go do something with my family or, something small for a day or two or, be somewhere. But like, we never went out of town. We never went on crazy vacations. We just like didn't do any of that kind of stuff because I was working, I was grinding, I was in school, I was trying to, find my way in my career. I was trying to like handle all the demands that I had on my shoulders. And so many people want to go on vacations right now. They want to have a nicer car right now. They want to buy things that maybe they can't afford right now and have a portion of that. But what ends up happening is I can't afford to go invest in this thing that's going to make me better. I can't go gain this skill set. I'm not going to, make this opportunity to go learn or to go network or to go connect with these other people that I could have done, but I'm going to miss it because I'd rather have a small portion of it right now rather than having the discipline to get there in the long run.
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
Yep.
We talked about how your relationship has changed with money over time. How do you feel like you've changed as a husband and as a father as you've grown in your career and as time has passed?
One more last thing on the relationship with money. I can tell you what, I have an appreciation on the rich being taxed and what the hell that actually means. I can tell you that.
Let's talk about it.
Well, specifically what I meant or mean is there was a point in my life where it's like, well, how are these individuals not paying these in taxes? And I mean, okay, well, let's fast forward to really what's going on. These individuals, are paying probably 90% of, keeping the economy going, right? Paying the government in taxes. And even if they're getting discounts and tax strategies and this and that, they're still paying
97% of taxes are paid by the top
taxes. So, when it relates to the taxes that we're playing, another appreciation is now the game that I'm in is tax strategies. Like you'll never get out of tax, I can tell you that. But virtually every move I make is how am I going to lower my taxes? So that's a mindset that
I have a moral obligation to pay as little in taxes as humanly possible.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. And I also too have an appreciation on how much taxes are being paid by a lot of individuals in this entire country. It's insane. And I understand like why we pay taxes and this and that, but to hear the story or whatever that the rich aren't paying taxes, no way.
Yeah,
they are paying taxes.
Well, it's estimated. I was listening to a Senate hearing this morning. It's estimated $115 million an hour is being lost to waste and to fraud, right? Inside the federal government, $115 million an hour, right? So you look at all of the waste, all of the fraud, all of the ways that these organizations have found to put corrupt people into place and then to have them turn a blind eye to what's happening in this particular department and money's just being funneled out, right? Like that's only, the estimate is $115 million an hour, which, comes out to be billions and even close to, $1 trillion a year being lost to fraud. From the perspective of the business owner or from anyone with their relationship with money, like you should view it that you have a moral obligation to pay as little in taxes as possible. And I say that somewhat jokingly, but what that actually means is you're incentivized by the government to be an owner. You're incentivized to be an investor. And it's this way in every major country on earth, right? Like it doesn't matter whether you're in the United Kingdom, whether you're in Asia, whether you're in the United States or South America, like every major country on earth incentivizes people through its tax code to be an owner and an investor. Why? Because the system needs capital. The system needs factories. The system needs innovation. The system needs people that are going to go create jobs and find better ways of doing things. So the government will incentivize you to be an owner. The government will incentivize you to invest in things, to own real estate, to own businesses, to own equipment and capital. And so you should view it not as tax evasion, but as you said, tax strategy. Like, how can I follow the tax code to employ my capital to go do things that are going to make me more money? I can either go pay $1 million in taxes, or I can go spend $500,000 on this piece of equipment that is subsequently going to make me $1 million every year moving forward. But I have to go spend the money right now to go do it. Well, that's going to be a strain on our cash position. Okay, well, can we make it work? What other things can we put into place? You're better off investing half of that money into a piece of equipment, not paying the tax on it, because then that's going to pay you to own it. Same thing is true with real estate. I tell people all the time, like, investing in real estate, you don't invest in real estate for the cash flow. You invest in real estate for the leverage that it gives you and for the long-term asset that it is, right? It's an asset that can pay you to own it. In most cases, it's not going to pay you a ton of money, right? Like, there's not a lot of things that you're going to invest in. They're going to have a massive monthly cash flow. But what happens is that as that asset appreciates in value, now there's a value there that you can either go borrow against, which is tax-free. So I can now go pull money out of that asset and use that to invest in something else that's going to make me more money. But I'm investing in assets that essentially pay me to own them, right? And I think that what you're describing is that strategy of, if I can go save myself millions of dollars on taxes by learning the code, understanding it, finding deals, finding opportunities, finding how that fits within my ecosystem that I've built, I'm much better off doing that than trying to go solve a few $1,000 tasks inside my business, right?
Totally. Yeah, my ultimate goal: buy, borrow, and die. That's when I know I made it.
That's right. Love it.
Yeah, what was the previous question?
Well,
Sorry, on the tangent there.
Yeah, so we talked about money, and then how has your relationship with Jillian and with your kids evolved over time?
Totally. So yeah, with me specifically, with marriage, just like in anything, like with business, physical, mental health, like marriage is the same thing. You have to put time, effort, and energy into that. Like, you got two different people, maybe similar paths, maybe they grow different. For Jillian and I, luckily we've always been on the same page where we've both grown together over the course of time. My relationship with her is more an appreciation at this stage. She's a mother of 4 of my children. So I got, admiration and appreciation for her, not only just being a mother of my children, but also just being such a great supporter of me and vice versa. So, I appreciate that. Her and I kind of have a pact where it's like, all right, we both got our roles. We're a partner and co-parents in everything. So when I come home at night, like, we're both co-parents. It's not just her territory. But during the day, like, my role is, more the financial side, whatever I need to do to bring the financial in for the family. Her role is, hey, I'm going to take care of these children of ours to ensure that they're being raised how we want them to be raised and protected during the day, and have the ability to have all that mother time with them. But again, when we come home at night, I'm not in her territory, and like, I'm a co-parent with her. So I think just her and I being on the same page with that helped us in our relationship to understand. And I just respect her and I admire her, and that's a lot that she does during the day. Things that, that's not a strength of mine. No way I could do that.
Well, and that's helped you to be successful in your career, knowing that she has your back.
Totally.
Things are good at home.
Totally.
Knowing that you're not coming home to a fight, and that it's like, hey, I come home and I've got your back, and that she's got your back. And
no, I mean, our marriage isn't perfect, but luckily for us, I also too now know that I'm smart enough to know, I should say, like, what can trigger her, or if she's like emotional, or if she's stressed out or whatever. It's like, I can go one or two ways. Like, I can just, even if I'm in that mood too, or I'm stressed out, it's like, like, how do I mature? I use it as an opportunity to become more mature, right? And it's like, how do I diffuse this situation and not make it bigger? And also, how do I not take things personally? Like, if, I would be the same way if I had 4 kids, I'm stressed out and I might say something. I don't take that personal because I know she loves me. She's just maybe in the mood, or she's got something going on. So that's also helped, and vice versa. She does the same thing. So my level with her has changed as it relates to just how we respect each other and how we understand each other. So how we like come into our relationship with each other. And then with the kids, it's definitely changed even on the heels of my dad's passing, to where, Jillian and I made a pact actually last February when we were in Jamaica. We were on the ocean. I'll never forget. We had a really good conversation on, for us, hey, we're going to prioritize our family unit, our kids. The conversation was around the kids and ensuring that we look ourselves in the mirror and make sure we're not making decisions because, maybe it's a cool thing to do, or our friends are doing this and that, and our egos can get involved. But no, scratch all of that. Like, what's really best for the kids in this situation? Okay, that's a decision we're going to make, even though it's like maybe we feel like we're getting left out and this and that. Who cares? So her and I, after having that conversation, one cemented for both of us that we really prioritize our kids and what's important. And then on the heels of my dad passing, and again, one thing that it's also like with my kids right now is the beautiful thing is it's like I get to like reparent my childhood or myself.
Like being born all over
So
again.
it's like being born again. So it's like I'm building a relationship with crew, yet I'm reparenting myself as I'm being a parent and helping out with some of my childhood insecurities and this and that. So it's like a fulfilling thing. But yeah, just my relationship is just how much I care about them, how much I love them, and really just not letting, and again, like staying humbled, meaning like we got a lot of things going on, a lot of opportunities, but never letting, and you're great at this too, and this is something I admire about you. I'm never going to let my ego or my opportunities take away from what's really best for what my kid needs in that moment or in their phase of their life. I'm always going to put them first. And the nice thing is like when you got people around you, you don't need to try to justify or explain it. You just do it. And it just, yeah. So that's where I'm at with my kids and my relationship, truly putting them first.
I love it. Well, I feel so much the same way, right? Like my relationship with Melanie, I don't think you could state the monetary value that brings to someone to have a stable relationship in their life and to have someone that has your back with your family, that you don't dread. I saw something the other day that said you can't put a dollar value on not having to sit in your car dreading to go in the door when you get home.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, and I think there's a lot of people that are in that position in their life where they come home, but they dread walking in the door. And the value that it creates in your life by having someone that that you have a great relationship with and that you're excited to see and it's excited to see you. And, it's not to say that every day is sunshine and rainbows. It's not.
Yeah.
But that that you have each other's back and that long term you guys are aligned and that you want the same things and you're working toward the same goal and that you have trust that every day she's working just as hard as you are. The work may look different, but that you guys are partnered together and that you're working together to accomplish the same things. You can't put a value on that, right? And the way that makes your life so much better really can't be overstated.
And, I'm driven by a lot of different things. But it is nice to have a spouse too that kind of like has the same standards you do. Like, let's be real. Like if we were driven like how we're driven and our wives, not for insecurity reasons, but because they want to better themselves and, they want to, and same with us, we want to work out, we want to look good mentally and physically because we want our wives to be attracted to us. And it's nice that we have, the wives that, think the same way too, because that means a lot, right? Like Jillian's a beautiful gal and I think she gets more beautiful the older she gets. And I appreciate that she wants to take care of herself like as a woman. That's awesome. I don't tell her to or anything like that.
Yeah.
She just wants to do that. And yeah, that helps, right? Like she's beautiful and she just keeps getting better looking.
Yep. No, I totally love it. Last question I have for you. What are the attributes that you look for in people that you have in your circle? We talked about people being a fringe connection, even people being friends, but for the people that you put in your inner circle, what are the characteristics that you look for and that you...
Yeah, I think the first threshold layer to it is loyalty, trust, like by far. And that's not taken lightly. Like it's loyalty. It's like I want people who are defending my name in rooms I'm not in. Like that's no joke. Like that's the number one thing. And it's pretty easy to see loyalty. There's times where you could be wrong on somebody, but there's enough things over the course of time you can figure out real quick. Yeah. So the first thing is loyalty. Like if I got someone's back and I know they got mine, I mean, that's like number one for me. And then the next thing I would say outside of somebody being loyal, the next thing would probably be, I'm thinking about like, there's a couple layers to this. There's maybe a vulnerability level to it, to where, for you and I, an example, like a lot of our conversations, which I appreciate, are based on, not even like vulnerability is like weeping in the corner, but it's like, no, I can be real with you. Like there's things that you can appreciate and understand that maybe Jillian can't or other friends can't just because of life circumstances. Yep. So like vulnerability to be able to be like, yeah, I'm going through a lot, or fuck, I'm struggling with this and that. And you understand that, like that's a big thing for me, to have kind of like similarities in life phases and understandings and vulnerabilities. So I'd say loyalty, the vulnerabilities, and then honestly, just I'm attracted to, call it like creative, strategic, not even strategic. I call it like creative, big idea thinking type of individuals. I absolutely love that. And I've never been offended by it, or that's not the right word. I've never been like envious or jealous. Some people, it's weird. Like it makes them feel uncomfortable. Right. And I know, you know what I'm talking about. For me personally, I don't, cause I'm not comparing myself to you. It's always me versus me. And I'm always just learning from the other individual. But I love being surrounded by individuals who are just big idea thinkers, who give like zero shits about other people's opinions of themselves, which we've talked a lot about and something, I've struggled with over the years. But just taking risk and having big ideas and being bold about it. Like I'm just attracted to that. So yeah, that loyalty is huge. Being vulnerable with somebody, and somebody who's just a big idea thinker. That's what I want to be around.
Yeah. So young people, if you're listening to this, Torry just gave you some unbelievable advice. Surround yourself with those kind of people, right? Surround yourself with people that are loyal to you, that protect your name in rooms that you're not in, people that push you to be better, people that you view that they have things that you want, people that you can be vulnerable around, that you can learn from, that you can be able to share true life experiences with and connect on a genuine level. Like those are things that you should be looking for in your friends and who you surround yourself with, and the impact on your life is really immeasurable. So no, I echo everything you said. Appreciate you coming on the podcast today, Torry. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
It's always the best when you get to sit down. So
let's go.
Love it.
Love it.